Welcome to my immigration podcast. Today I'm talking to Harold Luhn, my paternal grandfather. I wanted to talk to him because I knew that he had recently been studying our family's history leading back to our immigration to the United States. I first asked Harold what year the Luhns immigrated to the U.S.
The year that they left, Germany was not a full country. It was comprised of 30 different states. They lived in Prussia.
The Luhn family originated from Prussia, the German Empire. According to James Chaston of Ohio University, Prussia was the German Empire, which was the center of the German Revolution from February 1848 to July 1849.
They came between 1852 and 1855. In 1846, they had what was called a potato blight that came through, and they had a lot of crop failures.
Mary Kine wrote for Otterod Heritage that the potato blight of June 1845 and beyond consisted of crop failures, with thousands of people dead from the reduced amount of food.
In 1846, a lot of the farmers lost their jobs, and we were farmers.
The average individual living in Germany in the 1850s ate about 50 kilograms of potatoes yearly, according to the Center for Quantitative Economics in their Consumer Price and Wage report in Germany for the 1500s through the 1850s.
I think they came because they were looking for land that the United States offered.
Additional pull factors for the Luhn family to move to the United States included the Consumer Price per Index report. Food was down 5% in retail prices, rent was down 3%, and fuel and lighting was down 8%. On average, it was cheaper to live in the United States during the Industrial Revolution as compared to Germany, according to the Consumer Prices, NBER.org U.S. base.
They came into New York, and he did so with his wife and sons. And then he had a brother. His brother came with them, I believe, at the same time. One of their children was born on the boat on the passage over.
As described by Harold, Johannes Adam Luhn, age 30, was a farmer who came in through New York. According to the National Archives of the United States AAD database, Elizabeth Luhn, age 23, also had the same manifest number identification. The husband and wife, with their kids and the remainder of their family, were the firstborn immigrants of their lineage.
He came into New York. He then went to Wisconsin. I do have some relatives in Wisconsin. And then he went to Missouri. And then he went to a place called Barada, Nebraska. Barada, Nebraska was a little farming town. And I'm thinking that's probably where he got his start on homesteaded land.
Johannes' success story was not unique to him. Posted in the late 1800s, a New York Times article titled "Caring for German Immigrants" encouraged the Labor Bureau at Castle Gardens to persuade Western farmers to employ Germans. It is also noted in this article that employment for Germans was easy to find in New York and out west. Through the American expansion westward, it was important to have immigrant labor pushed out towards the farms to maintain the food production and also the industrialization of modern cities. The organization Castle Garden helped immigrants to find homes and their belonging in New York and beyond. Neither Harold or I could find records if our ancestors had passed through Castle Garden, but it is highly likely that they had contact with Castle Gardens. Every so often I hear Harold talking about Nebraska, so I asked him more about what went down in Nebraska for the Luhn family.
There are a lot of Luhns in Nebraska. That's a real batch of them back there. Part of it is because those immigrants from Germany in the 1852 to 55 period, a lot of them settled in the Midwestern states because they were farmers. And from that, we have all of the Luhns.
In Western U.S., noted again by James Chaston, there was more freedoms, unlike the freedoms in Germany with the Communist Party. In the U.S., the working class was more active and had freedoms of press, assembly, and they were able to abide by that constitution as U.S. citizens, which the Luhn family was able to get their citizenship and naturalize through it. The Luhn family settlement pattern follows the German Triangle, which kind of outlined the boundaries between Missouri, Ohio, and Wisconsin that the German farmers settled in as their homeland, and they were able to pursue their farming livelihood in the Midwest as they expanded westward. To explain the Germans in the Midwest, a Smithsonian article put it very nicely. Quote, "Many were farmers in their homeland and pursued the same livelihood in the Midwest. Living in close proximity to other Germans encouraged these immigrants to maintain traditional customs and language." Based on my experience in my family, culture and maintaining culture and tradition is extremely important in the way I've grown up, and I can imagine that being very important for my immigrant ancestors. I had an amazing time interviewing my grandfather, and I think that's super special that I'm still able to do that and that I'm able to hear his stories, which are super amazing. I had a great time, and I wrapped up the interview, and I'm excited to see him at Thanksgiving, along with the rest of my family. Thank you for watching. This was My Immigrant Podcast.
We'll see you at Thanksgiving, if not before.
That
You
was
can still come to dinner anytime you want.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.